Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it.
All at that, I could probably get one a little more like what you've got.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't sound so raspy.
Yeah, you wouldn't sound so raspy. Is that what it is?
Raspy.
Raspy?
Raspy.
The puberty hits, that'll probably help too.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'll let you know after I've had my third child.
Really?
Jesus, listen to this.
You're gonna make
No.
You're gonna make more?
Good Lord. No, we're done. We're done.
It's good to see you at least grew your beard back, though.
That's coming.
You're somebody's dad.
I am.
I know, eh?
That's a wild thought.
It is. That slowed me.
Scary and exciting and scary all at the same time.
It is.
That slowed me down in a hurry, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you're telling me.
It was a lot easier just being somebody's kid than it was being somebody's dad.
It slowed me down, and I mean, I changed my social circles pretty damn quick.
I didn't do that. I still kept the same social circles. I just didn't let them know that I had a kid.
There were some of my car buddies that are a little wild for family life.
Yeah. Well, just don't bring them home.
Yeah, that's true.
I wonder if Spoon's got any kids.
I do.
I bet you're a good dad.
Me?
Yeah.
I did all right.
Yeah.
They're still alive.
I've met your sons via the video here, and your sons are very respectful young gentlemen.
Yeah, that's on video.
Afterwards,
no, they do.
much.
You know, they can be. They're guys. They're boys. Dad is only good for so much up to a certain age, and then they got to go and do their thing. And
yeah,
but I consider myself a successful parent because when Joy and I are out and we hear, hey, we saw Hayden do that, at so and so place, and he was out helping this person and doing this and everything else like that, or Evan was doing this or this or this, and it was, they talked to him and they're so nice. They're using please and thank you and stuff like that. It was just really nice. You don't see that a lot. I'm sitting there going, well, at least they learned something,
Yeah.
So I guess in today's day and age, I guess that could be chalked up as a success.
I'd say so.
Absolutely.
I haven't had to go and get bail money for either one of them yet. So, I mean, I guess that's the other part that's good. Or maybe
let's hope we don't get there.
I failed, or maybe I should look at that as a monumental failure.
I wish I could have been a better father. I would have liked to have been a better dad. However, the thing that I'm most proud of is that when my son did turn of legal drinking age, him and his buddies, I knew they were going to be pretty wild, but I begged and pleaded and insisted and anything else I could think of so that they would never drink and drive. And I've told the story before. They never did. And not only did he always call me, because I told him 24/7, you call me, I will come. I don't care if it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't care what you've done. Just do not get behind the wheel of a car. You'll regret it for the rest of your life. And, not only did he call me, but his buddies would call me if they needed a ride. So I always thought, well, I guess I got that point across.
I mean, that's all right, right? The good attitude spreads.
Yeah. So I remember one night, one of his buddies called me, Mr. Strang, and I'm like thinking, yeah, hey Corey, it's Corey DeGroot. I says, oh hey Corey, how you doing? He says, yeah. He says, can you give us a ride home? I'm like, sure. But I thought I'm thinking, Peter's at home tonight, isn't he? Is Peter out with you guys? No, we haven't seen him tonight. I think I don't know where he is. Oh, but you guys need a ride home? Yeah, Mr. Strang, if you wouldn't mind. Sure. Which I always thought was pretty cool. I always was pretty proud of that fact. All right, the reason we're gathered here tonight is we got our buddy David Start, 8 Days of Rain.
Evening, everyone.
We got our buddy George Taylor, the boy wonder from the Ottawa Valley.
Ottawa Valley.
Yeah. And we got our favorite. Well, he's not our favorite. Well, he is one of our. He's a fan. You know what, Spoon? You're a fan favorite.
I am.
You are. You're a fan favorite. Not
That's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah. Not that you two guys aren't. But George and David. You know how on any sports team, like you take the New York Islanders, you got your franchise guy, and you got your other guys. You need your other guys. I'm just digging this hole deeper and deeper, aren't I?
Wow.
No, keep going. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to start using the backup goalie analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the guy's name from the slap shot? The backup guy, LeBrun or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spoon, you're our fan favorite, and we got our buddy Mike the Spoon Ostertag all the way from Green Bay, Wisconsin, over the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. And David,
Hi there.
And David, 8 Days of Rain. You're from Fayetteville, New Jersey.
Lafayette.
Close. So close. Do you have a 20 by 36 outbuilding?
No, I have a 20 by 36 basement.
There you go. Okay.
At least half of it.
So the reason we're here today, boys, is I need David insists that I can't do intros by myself because I suck at it, and he's right. He's right. I'm no good at doing intros by myself. So whenever
I wouldn't say you suck at it, you're very functional at it.
yeah, functional. I'm uniquely challenged.
You get by. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. When I do it by myself, it's really bad. I think it's the only time. You know what? I think of all the podcasts and we've done together, I think when I do the intros by myself, it's the only time that I think to myself, there's a lot of people listening to this. And I need to try to sound interesting. And the more I think about that, the worse I get. Now, there was one.
You think about it a little too much. That's all.
Well, yeah, because I'm no good at it. It's like trying to fly the captain and the co-pilot pass out from bad fish, and now you're flying the A320, and you put your hand up because you've done Flight Simulator, and you're really not that good at it.
I have some experience.
Yeah,
that's what Otto was for.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Otto, that nice segue, David. This beautiful segue. So this is All-Star Variety Hour number 22, and this is going to be Mick Shea from also of the Ottawa Valley.
Hey.
Yeah, and he's a fan. He's a loyal listener and a fan, so we're going to find out all about him. And the second half is none other than Otto Vondrak of Railroad Model Craftsman, the editor of Railroad Model Craftsman, and it's his Was Happening interview that we did when a little while ago there in the heart of the whole. Did you guys hear about that pandemic thing?
Vaguely.
Yeah, a little bit.
I didn't take much notice of it. Just kind of came and went.
Yeah. That was well, I guess it's still going, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
I guess technically we need to social distance when we do these, eh?
Well, we got our cameras off.
I think we're pretty safe.
Fayetteville? Lafayette. How far is that from New York City?
40 miles, 45 miles.
Is that where you work, right in downtown Manhattan?
No. I try to avoid going there whenever possible. I work halfway between here and downtown.
So you're like 20 miles from where you work?
It's closer to 40, but it's in another direction.
Oh, okay. So Manhattan is like 40 miles away, and yet you're 40 miles away, but you're going in the other direction, like northeast or something?
Yeah, you would have to go southeast from me to get to downtown.
All right. Spoon, we're going to start. No, George, we'll start with you. What model railroad thing are you working on right now?
I am working on programming some of my ESU decoders to go in my Alcos.
Rapido Alcos?
Rapido Alcos, and I got a couple Atlas ones here, some of the older ones. Got kind of get a bit of an array.
How many locomotives do you own there, George?
18 and a half.
18 and a half.
18 and a half.
Which is the half?
I got an old proto chassis here sitting somewhere that's got no shell on it, so I'll call it a half.
The Proto 2000?
Yeah.
I got a couple of those in 1,000 pieces.
I got a few of those too.
I think everybody has a Proto 2000 in 1,000 pieces. They seem like really nice models, but they were really, they were like the Jeep 7s or something. What did they make? A Jeep 7, a Jeep 9 or something?
Yeah, I've got a pair of Jeep 7s and an SW 1200 sitting right here.
They made the 7, the 9, the 18, the 20.
They did the PAs.
30.
They did the 30. They did the 60.
Did they do a 40?
They did a 38. They did a 38-2, a 40. Yep, a 45. David. Yep.
They did the RS10s. They did the RS18s. All kinds of stuff.
FA1, FA2.
Yep.
Wow.
Didn't they do an S2 also?
They did an S1. They did an S.
As a 1.3 and a 2.4, right? Did they do both?
I think they only did the one. I think they only did the 1 and 3.
Are they still going? Proto 2000?
Well, they're owned by Walthers now. It's called Walthers Proto.
Oh, okay. All right.
But the line still exists.
So can you still get parts for all these locomotives? Man, they made a ton of them, eh?
Some of them I think you can. Like I've got a Walthers Proto SW 1200 sitting right here in front of me. That's essentially brand new. It shares some common parts with the older one that I've got, but like the handrails and stuff are different. So I don't know if I imagine you probably could, but you probably have to special request it from Walthers.
What kind of drives do they have in those? They got their own drives in those?
Oh yeah. As far as I know, they're just standard the twin flywheel 5-pole motors. I think are pretty normal across the board. I don't know if Mike or David have more insight into that, but I'm pretty sure that's what they are.
I would call it, a standard Athearn clone.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting question. Kato drives are really, really good, and
Yep.
and Atlas Kato is really, really good. So like, what if it's not Kato nowadays? What's the next best drive that you can buy in HO scale or S scale?
Well, I repower my stuff with either Proto Power West or like A-line motors or stuff like that. So I'm using HO scale motors on my stuff. I'm not a big fan of the S scale motors, but it's I always, what is it? It starts with a T. I can't remember what the name of it is now.
Isn't it like TA something? Is it something Japanese?
It's something Japanese, yeah. It's a can motor that's really, really good.
But it's like Takashi or something like that, or
yeah.
They're commonly used in brass models too. As they're good cam motor upgrades.
All right. Now, what are you working on, David? Anything?
Not at the moment, no.
How are the membership?
Memberships. They just keep rolling in.
Is that kind of like a year-long thing for you? Like you get any kind of a break? So we're talking about memberships for the Erie Lackawanna Historical Society, which David and I,
it's a full-time position.
Full-time position year round. And the fall is the worst. The end of the fall and the beginning of the January, like from November to January, I talked to you. Well, there was a week there where you basically refused to talk to me because you had to get them done.
And there's always a big push at the end when I need to get the backlog taken care of because the publisher is looking for the mailing list for the first issue. That's always crunch time.
Jeez, I just feel bad for it. It's like Newfoundland where there's last winter and next winter.
Right. There's this year's renewals, and then there's next year's renewals. Yeah. They all kind of run together.
Yeah, this year, last year's renewals, this year's, and next year's is always going on. Oh my goodness gracious! All right, Spoon. I know you're always working on something. What are you working on?
Well, I'm still yet again working on my SW7 project. At the point now where you have the door panels all done, the doors are done, exhaust stacks are installed. So now I'm starting to decal or decal for those north of the border, the louvers using Archer louver decals.
Oh yeah,
So
you
yep.
actually like you're decaling or decalling the actual louvers on the side of the doors.
Yep, it's a raised resin. It's a raised resin decal that Archer makes, and they're really nice. They come, they have door latches and louvers and walkway treads, and they have all sorts of stuff there.
What's it called? Archer what?
Archer Fine Decals or Archer Decals or something like that.
Archer Fine Decals and Transfers.
Yep.
Archer Fine Transfers, decals, decals, surface details, and dry and armor, aircraft, railroad figures, boats. Okay, cool. How'd you find them?
I knew about them through my days in HO scale, and then when I went to moved over to S, I just started talking with those guys and saying, "Hey, could you make some S scale stuff?" And one of the things is on their list. I'm kind of proud of this. I got to see if he still has it on here, if it's still a product that's available. But it's, I was asking him about doing door latches, the knuckle buster door latches, because when you go to replace a door, sometimes you have the latches are in different positions depending on how the rebuild of that locomotive went. And sometimes your models don't exactly reflect the proper configuration to be specific. And this is all rivet counter stuff. So I just asked him if it was possible if I took some, measurements and pictures and stuff like that and sent it to him, if he'd be able to make some door latches. And sure enough, he was able to get them to be detailed into down so you could actually see the handle in HO. N scale was just kind of looked like a little bit of a blob. But he had HO, S, O, and G, I believe, is what he had put out initially for the door handles. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of.
So they have a whole website. It's called archertransfers.com. And they're in Youngsville, North Carolina. So there you go. So go look for Archer. How do you find out all this stuff? 2 points. First off, I want to know, how do you find out all this obscure stuff? Because you seem to have the knack for finding obscure crap.
The same way I irritate my wife when I'm watching videos is the same way I find a lot of this stuff. I'll be sitting, I am the master of, ooh, hey, I'll click on that. Hey, that looks interesting. That looks interesting. I'll click on that.
Squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. And I've stumbled across all sorts of different stuff. And it's just, even my wife, bless her heart, she just sits there and goes, Mike, how did you even find that video? Why are you even watching it? I'm like, well, it's cool. It's kind of something neat. Don't you think that's neat? No, it's no. And I'm like, oh, wow, this would be cool. This would be fun. It's just, I have a lot of squirrel syndrome.
Right.
Yeah, they have a whole bunch of different stuff. Latches, weld beads.
I'm on their I'm on their website now, and I can't figure out how I find, how do I find what I want to find, I wonder.
Okay, on their website, if you go up to free catalog,
yeah,
and you click on that, click on free catalog, it'll come out to where it's got this listing of all these pages.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side, there's a bunch of black links. If you go to the one where it says resin details, rivets, welds, etc., you click on that, all the scales come up.
Oh, okay.
N-H-O-S-O, and then I click on S, and boom, there's the entire array of everything that you have. And You click on the knuckle buster or the door EMD latches. If you click on that, that'll show you the decal, the resin decal for S scale that I provided. Yeah.
All right.
So there you can go and change out your door latches if you need to.
Wow, and it's just a decal. It's a decal decal that sits. Well, look at this. Did you know this? It says resin on clear film. Listen to this, David, George. Listen to this. Are you ready? Are you guys ready?
Listening.
I am ready.
All right. Resin on clear film. Resin on clear decal film, decal film. Sheet of 45 resin latches cast onto microscale clear decal film, decal. Raised reading. Raised details applied just like regular water slide decals, but under paint. Comes with instructions. Are you ready for the next part?
Yes.
Yes.
Researched by Mike Ostertag.
Nice.
Well done, Mike.
Nice to get credit.
Did you know that was there?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I just I'm actually pretty proud of this because this is actually something that wasn't available for people. Have kind of struggled to figure out how to do latches over. I mean, they've a lot of embossing has been done, a lot of different stuff, and I just kind of saw an opportunity, and it was one of those we've talked about stuff like this in the past, where if you see an opportunity to be able to make something better for the hobby or better for people down the road, it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst they could have done is said, no, we don't want to do it. And, they were gracious enough to give it a shot. And I actually have a set and they look really, really sharp.
Cool. And they're black, I guess.
Yeah, because they're paintable.
Yeah.
So
paintable.
so it's just like any of these other resin decals. What happens is you put them on before you paint, and then it gives you some semblance of depth. So so like when you change out the door latches or you put new louvers on someplace, you do these things, it actually gives you the feel of that's cast into this or stamped into the steel of the door or what have you, so gives a really nice little detail to it.
Louvers. Oh, there's an assortment of louvers there too. You don't get credit for that though, I'm afraid.
No. I'm just a one-trick pony on this. Everything else is by somebody else.
Okay, I'm going to make a comment to David. Can you answer a question for me?
I can do my best.
I think this is going to sound really rude, except I'm talking about spoons, so I think at the end of the day, it's okay.
Okay.
I just noticed just now that when I ask Spoon a question, like I said, so what are you working on now? As soon as I was finished the question and I heard him take a breath, I reached for my drink and had a refreshing beverage because I knew I had plenty of time.
I don't think that's rude. That's just being realistic.
Okay. Mike, you didn't take that the wrong way, did you?
Take what the wrong way?
Exactly.
All right, you guys, look how much time have we killed doing this. Let me see. I'm going to see. This should become a segment in itself. The introduction has become a segment of the show. What a disaster. This 25 minutes we've been talking. I was going to do an introduction. We haven't done an introduction, David. We've done a segment.
There you go.
All right, so we have Mick Shea. His real name is Michael, but everybody calls him Mick ever since he was a kid. From the Ottawa Valley, and we have Otto Vondrak of Railroad Model Craftsman. We don't need to do, I don't think we need to do the end. If we do, I'll be back talking to you guys, but I'm pretty sure that Otto and I took care of that. I'm not 100% sure we did. I may be back talking to you guys.
One way or another, we'll find out.
Yeah, after this, I'll check, and then we can do it. So, David, you're really good at this next part, so take it away.
Subway chime, go.
Can you just, before we start the next segment, Bruce, there's an interesting question for you. I know you keep fairly accurate details about if this is the first podcast since the last podcast.
Yes, I do.
However, this is just merely a segment on the AML All-Star Variety Hour.
It could be a segment between segments. It could be an initial segment. It could be a final segment. So let's just go. It's a segment of unknown placement.
Okay, and we don't know if it's the first one since
We don't.
the last.
Well, the only guy who's going to know is when you finally put this work of art together and slide it out the door, and then everybody else will find out. So
All right.
you're going to keep us in suspense until this is all done.
I am, exactly. So, Mike, all right, it's Mick Shea, but I'm going to call you Michael for a minute.
Sure.
And do you know how to turn your camera off there, Michael?
Down at the bottom.
That would be a no. That would be a solid no.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to go to my FaceTime camera and turn that off.
No, on your Werby screen. Oh, I don't know. You're an Apple, so
Yeah, on your Werby screen. Yep. And just
Okay.
click on the camera thing, and you'll disappear off, or not.
I don't.
Is it at the bottom on yours, Lionel, on Apple?
Yeah, it's the same as on Windows, I
Okay.
think.
So down at the bottom, there's 6 little icons.
Yeah, there's the camera.
Okay.
All right,
Like the one that says cam.
Cam.
Hey,
Yeah, there you go. Do you know why we do that?
I have no. So you can't see me scratching myself, I suppose.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, I never even thought of that.
We
but-
hadn't thought of that one. That's a very valid point.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Michael,
Yes.
you've made it very clear to me that that's not the name you go by. We're talking to Michael Shea, who lives in Ottawa, Ontario, the nation's capital. It's also where our buddy George Taylor hails from, the FedEx driver.
Yes.
And so, Michael, people don't call you Michael? What do they call you?
My friends call me Mick, and I guess probably from the Irish. It's just always the way it's been ever since I was a wee lad. My friends have always called me Mick.
So, is your parents are your parents Irish?
Irish on my father's side, English on my mother's.
Okay.
I was just always called Mick at home by friends and family, and Michael when my mother was mad at me.
Yeah.
And Michael, when your wife is mad at you.
No, she doesn't call me Michael very often.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a rarity.
So she just doesn't talk to you when she's mad at you.
That's right.
What's your
I can relate to that.
Yeah, what's your wife's name?
Barbara.
Barbara. Hi, Hi, Barbara. How are you?
Oh, she's downstairs sewing at the moment.
Yeah, I know that, but she might listen to this.
Well, she may.
Apparently, hey, Bruce.
Yes.
Apparently, we're not dealing with the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Yeah, well, it's got potential, all right?
Yeah, he's got potential.
Well, let's not write it off only after.
All right, okay. But, I wonder if he's going to let anybody listen to this. Anyways, Mick, your wife, you might have your wife listen to it, and then I would go, "Oh, hi, Barbara. How are you?"
You want me to say that?
What's that?
Hi, Barbara.
No,
I don't want you to. I just said hi to her. The question.
Well, I'll make
Lionel.
sure
Yeah, Bruce.
Did you have a backup guest in line for that?
Backup.
The emergency backup guest?
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming out, Mick. It's been
Hey,
great.
you're welcome. I can go and get Barb if you like.
No, it's okay.
Stop by Don on the way out and get your lovely party.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So, where would we start? We would start about.
You can tell how he first met me.
Okay, let's go with that one. All right. How did you first meet Bruce, the moderately agitated mailboy?
Well, I would, Bruce. That would be 2002.
Somewhere in there.
I think the Model Railroad Club I was with in Regina. That was when I was living back in Regina. Was hosting the Pacific Northwest Region. Convention.
It was the 6th division, right?
Well, it was the 6th division, but it was a regional convention.
Oh, was it the regional convention? Okay.
Yeah, it was a regional convention. It was the 6th division that was hosting.
Right.
And I was part of the organizing committee. I was the registrar for that meet, and also at that time I was also the AP chairman for the 6th Division NMRA. And I got a phone call from this, I think it was a phone call or maybe it was an email.
I'm
from
not
Bruce.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. But anyway, he got in touch with me and asked whether or not we needed any assistance judging the AP and the model contest and everything. And I said that would be great. And Bruce came down. I think you were working
I was working up in Saskatoon at the time at our office there.
Yeah.
So I just happened I was out there at the time, and what better way to kill a weekend to go to Regina and do some model railroading and stuff.
Yeah, and it was a good weekend. We had
it was a very good weekend.
Pretty good turnout, and yeah, it was fun.
Some good layouts to visit. Yeah.
So I know the thing you guys have to remember. This show is listened by people all over the world. We got a guy in Coolin, Australia, Western Australia, that listens to this, and he's about 3 hours east of Perth. And
scary.
Yeah. The thing you have to be careful, Mick, is I think we had this the other day, Bruce. Your microphone.
Oh, is he on Vox?
Yeah, he's on Vox.
So, sorry.
That's okay. So just make sure let's all make sure we don't talk over top of each other.
Do you want to get that out of the way right now?
Yeah, let's all talk at the same time.
Okay, we're going to try this all at the same time to make sure everybody's talking over each other and not.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
All right.
And then
Yeah. I saw that in a movie once, that when they need extras to talk and make a lot of noise as a crowd, they all say walla walla walla.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So we have people listen to this from all over the world, and a lot of them would have no idea what you're talking about when you say Regina and Saskatoon. So who would like to explain where Regina and Saskatoon are?
Well, I could do that. Regina is the capital city of the province of Saskatchewan, one of the prairie provinces. And in terms of geographic location, in relation to the United States, I suppose, straight north of the joint border between North Dakota and Montana.
All right, there you go. So Saskatchewan is a province in the country of Canada. How many miles east of or west of Ottawa would that be? Probably in mileage, it'd probably be a couple of thousand miles.
It's 2,700 kilometers from my front door to my brother-in-law's front door in Regina.
Okay, so it's approximately 1,700 miles.
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of in the middle of the country of Canada, and Saskatoon is how many hours north of Regina, Bruce?
It's depending how fast you drive, it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay, so not that far. So that's how you guys met in 2002 at an NMRA convention.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And so okay, so then what are you doing in Ottawa?
Well, my wife was offered a job in Ottawa in 2003, and we came here for that job opportunity for her. And it was originally a term position. And once we got here, we found we liked Ottawa. We had a number of friends in Ottawa already. And we kind of reconnected with them and got to like the community. And Barb was offered, or they actually wanted her to stay and take the position on a permanent basis. So we did that, and we made the move to Ottawa. And we've been here since 2003, beginning of 2003. And
do you have kids?
We have one daughter, and she lives here in Ottawa with her partner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they don't live too far from us. We're about 10 minutes away.
And so, did she move with you when you moved to you and your wife and your daughter? Did she come with you? Like she was of school age or so?
No, actually, our daughter was in her second year of university when we decided to move to Ottawa. And she completed her schooling at the University of Saskatchewan. And then she went to Prince George and did a residency at the hospital in the base hospital in Prince George. And she was there for, I guess, almost 3 years.
Cool. So she's a doctor?
She's a pharmacist. She's a hospital pharmacist.
Oh, okay.
And so she's a pharmacy resident now in Ottawa at the General Hospital. So she's kind of on the front lines of all this.
Yeah, this is a segment, so we won't get into all that. We'll talk about that another day. Although, everybody knows what we're talking about, but we'll leave that for another day. This is just to cheer people up.
Anyway, she moved to Ottawa, had a job opportunity here, and moved to Ottawa and met a man and settled down. So
okay. So how does her dad like this guy?
She has a very, very nice guy. He's a great son-in-law, and he has a terrific family there here in Ottawa as well. And we're blessed.
Sounds good. So let's tell everybody where Prince George is.
Well, Prince George is in northern British Columbia, and Prince George would be about 8 hours.
About 8 hours west of Edmonton.
8 hours west of Edmonton in the interior of British Columbia.
Yes,
Pardon
sir.
me?
One of you answer.
Yes.
In the interior of British Columbia.
Yes.
The winter I lived in Prince George, we had 6 feet of snow in the month of January.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
Go
ahead.
I didn't know you lived in Prince George.
I lived in Prince George when I first got out of university and spent about 8 months there and then moved over to Edmonton.
Oh.
Okay, so what scale do you model in?
N scale.
Oh, I thought it was dead. Is that not the case?
No, it's just lost in the hobby.
All right, so how did you find the podcast?
Well, that's a good question.
Hang on.
Right.
Bruce?
Yes?
I thought all of our questions were good ones.
I was under the same impression, but maybe Mick's trying to tell us something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe some of the questions we've thrown his way so far haven't been good. I don't know.
Exactly. Or maybe when he's listening to the show, he's thinking to himself, well, that was just a mediocre question.
Yeah, that would be a marginally adequate question.
That's what we should do is we should hand people out scoring sheets. So
there you go.
After an interview, they could send in their score for how they rated
for feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we can just take those, wad them up, and shoot them over to the basket in the corner.
Yeah.
All of your questions, Lionel, are good. Some are just better than others.
Oh, okay. So how did you find the podcast?
Actually, I found it through a search in iTunes. Actually, I was looking for. There were a couple of other podcasts that I listened to occasionally, and thought, well, maybe there's something out there related to model railroading. So I just kind of did a search through iTunes, and A Modeler's Life was one that came up, and I listened to a couple of episodes, and then I kind of got hooked on it, and I went right back to the very beginning and listened to them all.
Oh, have you?
Atta boy.
Well done.
Oh.
And so obviously you enjoy the podcast.
I do very much. I think what you've done in the model railroad community and pulling all of these people from all over the world together in friendship and in model railroading, I think is a great thing.
Yeah, well, and it's the people that did it. I just happened to be here, sitting here at the computer.
It was your idea.
Yeah, my idea. Yeah, there you go. It was my. Well, actually, it's all Bruce's fault, but that's another story altogether.
Oh, this is true.
So do you have a layout, or what's happening there?
Well, I haven't built a layout since I moved to Ottawa. I was working on a home layout in Regina. And early on, when I got to Ottawa, I got involved with the local NTRAC group. I wanted to I wanted to kind of reach out and get involved in the local model railroad community. So there again, I looked on the internet and found out that there was an active NTRAC group here in Ottawa, and it just so happened that at where we were living at the time, we were living in a condo when we first got here, and the NTRAC group was meeting at a restaurant that was kind of across the parking lot from the condo we were living in. So I just one Sunday morning went over. They went over and introduced myself at one of their Sunday breakfasts, and the next thing I know, I had a whole bunch of friends in the model railroad community here. I got involved with OVAR, which is the Ottawa Valley Associated Railroaders, which is a kind of an umbrella organization for a lot of different model railroad groups and historical groups here in Ottawa. And so I got involved with them as well. And most of the modeling that I've done is just basically been building NTRAC modules, and currently working on 12 feet of T-track modules as well.
All right, so you have a module then?
Yeah.
And what is T-track? Explain to me T-track, because I don't understand T-track at all.
Well, T-track is just another modular standard. It's built on a much smaller scale. Standard module is about 14 inches deep and about 12 inches wide, and it's a 2-track standard, and it's just made to I think the T in T-track is for tabletop, and it's just designed to be light and easy to move and easy to connect up with others who have built T-track modules. And I think it's meant to appeal to people who don't have a lot of space, but yet still want to be able to be creative and build something in the hobby and be able to get together with other people and run trains. And
Woodland Scenics has some sort of version of that too, don't they, where you can build the squares out of foam?
They do. Woodland Scenics and Kato Unitrack is the standard for T-track modules, and they went together, and there's kits available both for straight modules and for corner modules, and it's kind of a turnkey operation, if you like. You buy the kit, and it has everything in it you need to build the module and scenic it and lay track and the whole business all in one. And they're pretty reasonably priced too.
Are they? Do you have a rough idea what they cost?
Straight modules about $60 here at the. So that's not bad considering you get the track, everything you need to build the module, and all the scenery materials. So
that's from Woodland Scenics.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry, the size again for one of the Woodland Scenics ones is it looks like it's 12 inches square, basically.
Yeah, it's actually the standard, I think, is 14.5 inches deep and 12 just over 12 inches wide. I could tell you what that is in millimeters if I could remember.
No, I don't. Actually, I went to school in high school, and I graduated high school just in the last year and a half. 2 years was millimeters, so I don't care.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we could tell everybody, Bruce, that story. I mean, we can explain to everybody.
Sure.
That the metric system came to Canada in the very early 1970s. And that's I was in grade 11, grade 12, somewhere in there. And that's when they started to introduce the metric system. And we'd been raised on the imperial system, which is miles per hour, feet and inches, yards, and Fahrenheit degrees. So I really, here I am many, many years later, and I really don't care about the metric system. What did you were a couple years behind me, eh, Bruce? Because you weren't as smart as I was. Oh, come on, you missed it.
Not as old as you either. So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Okay.
I'm trying to think when it came in, but I've always been an Imperial guy. Chrysler made those great cars, and sorry, I digress. But no, and my job, because most of our suppliers in the U.S., I always work in Imperial systems, and then you get the stupid Canadians writing contracts in metric, and I'm always having to convert to make sure I get the right thing that they want. So it's, but I know though that 1 liter per second is 15.852 U.S. gallons per minute. So there you go.
Oh, okay. There you go. And usually you see on the top of in the public toilets.
Yes.
1 liter.
1.6 liters or 1 gallon or 1.6 gallons per flusher.
Yeah, exactly.
6 liters, 1 gallons. Yes.
Exactly. Okay, so tell us about OVAR or not. So you belong to OVAR now?
I do.
And so you belong. Okay, so tell us about that, because that's in Ottawa, and that may be one of the more successful model railroad groups in North America.
They've been around for a while, yes.
Yeah, it's been around for several years. I don't know. I suppose I would guess it's probably 30 plus years.
More than that.
Oh yeah, way more.
Because
than that.
their 40th anniversary was somewhere around 1990, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's probably closer to 50 years then,
or 70.
But it's hard to believe. I've been here for 17 years, so I guess. It's anyway, yeah, it's been around for a long time. It's they meet once a month at the the soccer club here in Ottawa for a dinner meeting, and they have a themed display, and a meal, and there's all kinds of camaraderie with other model railroaders. And then after dinner, they cap that all off with a guest speaker of some sort, talking on an either model or prototype presentation of some sort. And there's a wide range of clubs that are involved. There's the local HO-Track, HO Modular Club. There's some Fremo guys. There's the ON30 group here, the Bytown Railway Society. There's also the Craig Library here, which I don't know if you know about the Craig Library, which it's a treasure trove of information, collection of prototype and model books, periodicals, and information that is housed in the Ottawa City Archives. Actually, they have space there. And so that group is part of OVAR, and N-Track clubs. There's lots of NMRA members. So it's a real homogenous mix of model railroading, prototype, and railroading guys all get together and have a good time.
Yeah.
Okay.
OVAR was formed April 16, 1961.
All right, there you go. 1961. So it's
they're coming up on 59 years.
69. Yeah, it'll be 60 years in 2021.
Yeah.
So
and here's another link. I was a member of OVAR when I lived up in the Ottawa area for 4 years.
How come you were always living in different places? Were you
the law? It was. Let's say it was the law.
Yeah, I was going to say you seem like you're having trouble holding the job.
Yeah. Well, sort of.
You got to keep moving. Eh? You have to
keep moving. just like the Lilith Hobo, right? Keep moving on.
All right. So you belong to OVAR, which is like an incredibly successful group in Ottawa. I think it might be one of the most best organized clubs in all of Canada, really. I mean,
now I know when I was there, they typically get around 120, 130 out for dinners. Not sure. What do they get now, Mick?
Yeah, they're probably getting, well, I would say close to 100 people still.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. And so do they ever, like you said, you belong to an N-scale club as well?
Yes.
And
Yeah, the Ottawa Valley End Track Club.
the Ottawa Valley End Track Club. You have a pretty big train show in Ottawa too every year, don't you?
Unfortunately, that has kind of died. The OVAR for years sponsored the train show in Ottawa, and it was held at Algonquin College. And several years ago, through a bunch of changes that happened at Algonquin, it became more and more difficult to host the show there. And then there was another group of interested parties who wanted to see the show grow, and that wasn't going to be possible using the existing facilities at Algonquin. So OVAR basically quit sponsoring that show, and another group of local model railroad guys took it over, and they hosted it for, I think it was 3 years. In the first year, I think they tried it at the EY Center here in Ottawa, and then it moved to the Field House at Carleton University. And then after that, it moved out to an arena in Rockland, which is a community just east of Ottawa, along the Ottawa River. And it just got to the point where it became uneconomical. And unfortunately, it died a death. Yeah, a lot of shows have kind of disappeared.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's difficult these days trying to make it go economically. There's so many places, commercial spaces that want a lot of money for rent, and it's hard to justify or get crowds out if you've got to pay or charge $15 or $20 a head to
right.
Get people through the door. So, yeah, unfortunately, fell victim to economics, I think.
And what? Okay, so and do you know the last year that was running? Because I think the model railroading hobby is pretty strong in the Ottawa Valley area.
Oh, there's no doubt that the hobby is really strong in the area, but I would say it's been 5 or 6 years anyway since there was a show here in Ottawa.
And okay, and so how often have you been going to Springfield?
Oh, I've been going to Springfield just about since I moved to Ottawa. I think I've been there 5 times now in the last 17 years. So I haven't been every year, but I've gone every opportunity I've been able to get there. So that's a great show.
And now you go there now, you're part of the AML Nation, which makes it even better.
That's right. And if all things being equal, we're going to go again this next show too.
Exactly. Yeah, because you ditched your 2 friends to be with us.
Oh, I'm never going to live that down. All right. Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm glad you ditched them to come with us. You went to the hockey game with us with your buddy. What was your buddy's name? Doug, exactly. And okay, so what are you modeling then? What are you particular?
Well, I'm a fan of the Burlington Northern and also the Canadian Pacific Railroad, which is kind of weird because I grew up on a Canadian National branch line in rural Saskatchewan. Don't ask me how I got hooked on the Canadian Pacific, but I did. So that's what I model, and I have a keen interest on the Esquimalt and Nanaimo Railroad on Vancouver Island as well.
You say that again a little slower.
I'm also
well, you don't have to say the whole part. You just need to say the name of the railroad.
Oh, the Esquimalt and Nanaimo Railroad?
Esquimalt and Nanaimo Railroad. I know in Nanaimo, Esquimalt, is that another town on Vancouver Island?
Well, Esquimalt is a community in Victoria.
Right.
Nanaimo is a community that's up island from north of Victoria.
Yeah, so Vancouver Island is a huge island off the coast of British Columbia, part of Canada, not that far from Seattle. I took a ferry once from Seattle to. I took a ferry from Seattle to Vancouver. I did. I took a ferry from Seattle to Vancouver from Port. What is it? Port Angeles
Yeah.
Port Angeles, and we got there and we were like we were visiting friends, and then my friend decided I would drive from their home to the we got the ferry, and they had a really nice Camaro. This has got to be going back 25 years ago. And as we got to the gate, the woman who took the ticket and we paid, she says, "Well, the ferry's going to leave any minute. If you can get there across the park, this massive Disney World-like parking lot that was absolutely huge." She says, "You got like about 3 minutes to get on this ferry." And so we took off across this massive parking lot, and I thought it was going to be kind of like a Smokey and the Bandit thing, as we were going to jump onto it, but we didn't. We made it just in time to get on the ferry, which was cool because the next one was 2-3 hours later. But the only problem was, in the excitement of getting there just in time, I locked the keys in the car. And so we were like, I don't know how. Let me think this through, because somehow we were in a position where if we couldn't get in the car because there was no keys, and then we were holding everybody up from getting off the ship. It was quite of course, that was also the same trip where waves were breaking over the bow, and we were like on the third or fourth deck. I went down into the hull, which you weren't supposed to do. Everybody had to stay on the deck, but of course, I didn't pay any attention to that. And I went down into where the cars were parked, and the seas were so rough, the tops of the tractor trailers were hitting each other. They were rocking back and forth, because they park them as close as they possibly could. And as we would hit these, occasionally, a couple of times we'd hit a wave, and the tops of the trailers would hit each other. That was some, and so I went back upstairs, and everybody's kind of getting hairy, and there's somebody says, "Oh, it won't be a problem until waves break over the bow." And I said, "This ship is so big, there is no way waves are going to break over the bow where we are." And just as I said that, a huge wave broke over the bow. And I went, "Oh, well, I guess now we are in trouble." So anyways, that's my, I wonder what ferry that is. It was a fairly long ride too. Esquimalt, how do you say it?
Esquimalt.
Esquimalt. Sounds like something you'd know about, Bruce.
I have heard of the Esquimalt in Nanaimo.
Yes.
The ENN. It was one of the last holdouts of Bud cars on the island.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Bud cars would be perfect for that.
They were.
They ran up until mid 2000s, I think.
Yeah, they were like the last ones going, and then that was it.
Oh, you mean just in the last like 10, 12, 15 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say maybe 10 years ago, 2007, I want to say, but don't hold me to that.
Wow, and our buddy Jason Tron has a Bud car.
Yes.
Exactly. All right. So, Bruce, we've managed to talk to Mick long enough for a segment. Have we missed anything? Is there things we should cover?
I don't think so. Got a little bit of going on. Did Mick tell us what he does for a job?
Yeah. What did you do for a living, Mick?
I worked for the credit union system in Saskatchewan. And when we moved to Ottawa, I did a number of things. I worked for 25 years or so in the credit union system. And then I spent a couple of years doing international development work. And after that, I just kind of knocked around. I was tired of traveling for a living, and I worked for a couple of other different companies after that. And when my wife had the job opportunity here in Ottawa, I retired and became a house husband. And so I kind of became a a homebody, and my wife retired now 7 years ago. And 9 years ago. And when she retired from her job, I went back to work. I went and worked for Lee Valley Tools here in Ottawa for 7 years.
There's a dangerous place I used to stop at
Yeah.
on my way home.
I've never actually been to a Lee Valley Tools.
Oh, I'll have to get you down to Toronto one sometime.
Yeah. You're missing out there, Lionel.
I know. I don't go into it for a specific reason.
They ran the bug cars on the E&N until 2011.
Oh, really, eh?
Okay. Yeah, they ran passenger service from Victoria to Courtney, daily passenger service.
Man, that would have been a great ride to do. Thanks for telling me, Bruce.
Yeah, well,
I rode that.
Should have asked 9 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that would have been. Okay, you go first, Mick.
I was going to say I had the pleasure of riding that line about 3 times over the last 25 years. I have a brother that lives in Victoria, and so whenever I get out to there to see him, anytime I had the chance, I'd take that journey up from Victoria to Courtney for just a day trip. It was a lot of fun. Beautiful scenery.
And Courtney, is it Courtney? Yeah, it's all the way up the coast of this island. And for people that don't know, I mean, the best way to describe it is Vancouver is an absolutely massive island. It's like, how long would it take you to drive from Victoria all the way to Port Hardy?
Oh, I would say that's probably close to 500 kilometers. And it would probably take you, I don't know, 10 or 12 hours, I would guess.
Yeah, because I imagine there's not a lot of high-speed road on this particular trip.
Well, they built a new highway between Victoria, or mostly new highway north all the way to Courtney, or maybe even a little bit further north than that, where it's all divided highway now.
Oh, really?
It didn't used to be.
Wow.
It used to the highway used to be just a 2-lane road, and it pretty much followed the coastline, so it'd take you forever to get up island. But several years ago, they developed the new highway that runs from kind of the summit of what's called the Malahat, which is north of Victoria, about 40 kilometers or so, and then after that, the highway turns into a divided highway.
Hey, Bruce.
And that
yes,
225 kilometers all the way north to Courtney, British Columbia.
Man, Bruce, this is something you'd be interested in. Never mind you, I'm interested in it. So I'm looking at on Google Maps.
Yes.
And you can, when you get to Port Hardy, you can take a ferry all the way to Prince Rupert.
Yes.
Oh, that looks like it's a long, long trip. Looks like a fascinating trip that you'd want to take.
And then there's, if you get up the north end, you can also take a ferry over to the Queen Charlotte Islands.
Yeah, so then there's another island. Is that the Queen Charlotte Island?
Or Haida Gwaii is what they call it now.
Oh, okay. So anyways, but on the if you zoom in on the map from Prince Rupert to wherever it docks on the next place, it's considered as highway number 1C, I think it is 1E. So it's actually shows it in the middle of on the water as Highway 1E, and it takes you all the way from Prince Rupert all the way to Skidgate and Sandpit. Man, that looks fascinating. I mean, that's a fascinating man. That's a ride we should take one day, Bruce.
Yep.
Holy mackerel! Canada is a massive place. Canada is just a massive. So what's this other island called? This other big island called then?
North of what they used to call the Queen Charlotte Island, it's now called Haida Gwaii.
Oh, and there's one called Moresby Island. It says here it's called Moresby Island on the Haida.
Yeah.
Gwaii something or other.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel! What a see now. That's why we do these interviews, because I've learned something today merely by talking to Mick Shea. I feel like I owe you a great gratitude of thanks, Mick.
Well, you're welcome. Happy to further your geographic knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And this is all in Canada, and I didn't really know about it. Holy mackerel. All right, so I think we got her covered, eh?
I'm thinking.
What do you think, Mick? Is there anything you wanted to talk about?
Well, I just have some information for Bruce. When we were in Springfield, we were talking about a television program that was made back in, I think, probably 1973, 1974, about the building of the Canadian Pacific Railroad.
Yes.
There was a series done called The National
Dream on the CBC, yes.
I did find out that it is available to stream on the CBC streaming service called Curio. That's a subscription service, but
Right.
if you check with your public library, one of the benefits of belonging to the Ottawa Public Library is that you have access to a number of other services, including access to Curio. So I would check with the local library where you are, Bruce, and see whether or not you can get access to Curio through the library.
So I have a question for you, Mick.
Yeah.
Is this part of the show?
Well, that's entirely up to you. You're the man that edits the program.
Yeah,
so...
but then I'd have to cut a hunk out. So we'll just leave that in the show. Bruce and Mick sort out their research.
Yes.
Problems.
That's an added bonus for people.
Exactly.
That's right. There may be other people out there who are housebound that want something to watch, and
now you're being. You've never listened to the podcast, have you? When do you think this will be broadcast?
I have no idea.
There you go. So they might not be housebound now.
But
then again, there's a good shot they might be.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's it. We're out of here. Say goodbye, Mick.
Goodbye, Mick.
Say goodbye, Bruce.
Goodbye, Bruce.
Say something now.
Now.
Okay, I got
something.
It. Okay, I got it. I fixed it.
Excellent.
I have fixed the equipment. The button has been pushed. This is Otto. I have to pre-warn you. This is an official AML warning. This is an unedited podcast. This will not be touched by human hands once we are done. These are what's happening. This is what's happening, man. What's happening?
What's happening with you?
Well, yeah, but it's not about me, Otto. It's about you. It's about all of us. You know what? Let's come together as a community.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Exactly. So if you're gonna say something about my overall appearance or something that you would prefer to have edited out later, it's not going to be edited out. So be edited. You know what? You're an
I'm an editor by trade. It's all I do is take things out.
Yeah, you're an editor by trade, and I think one of the hardest words in the English language to say is edited. There's no way to get that to roll off your tongue. So whatever you say might not be edited. There is no way to get that to roll off your tongue.
Fair warning. Yeah. Thank you.
You can get like the word guacamole. It's a mouthful, but you can, if you work at it, you can get guacamole to roll off your tongue. The word edited.
Well, I like to chew with my mouth closed.
So we are now let's change gears, Otto. We are now
okay.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to shift down one. Boy, oh boy, there's 2 minutes of riveting podcasting we just completed. See, that's why I
think we just lost Ottumwa, Iowa.
Yeah, we just lost Ottumwa, Iowa. All are being turned off. Okay, so this is what's happening. It's Otto Vondrak. He's the editor of Railroad Model Craftsman. He's an associate editor of Railfan Railroad. Any progress on my idea there?
Actually, we have our top men working on it. We're got our top marketing guys. They're diligently analyzing your idea.
Yeah, so for those that don't remember, I have suggested to Otto in all good faith that Railfan and Railroad could alternate every month, January, even months, odd months. It could be Railfan and Railroad in January, Railroad and Railfan in February. March, it's Railfan and Rail. You go back and forth, so nobody technically will ever say it improperly. It's really.
But really, aren't they all odd months?
Yeah, aren't they all odd months? So, hey, you know what? I'm constantly bugging Kevin Marks to go outside. Kevin Hardpart Marks, our beloved Hardpart. I'm constantly bothering him. He lives in Appleton, Wisconsin, and he's holed up in his home. And I'm constantly bothering him to go out and take a walk. Have you been getting any exercise, Otto?
I do try to get out during the day, take a little walk around the block.
And how far? How many are you counting your steps? You know what I've become? I've become one of those really annoying fitness guys. Not nearly as annoying as Chris Fitness, our buddy Chris Adams, but I'm annoyed because I've been walking 10,000 steps a day. So now I'm like, you could do it too, if you just got out there.
I think the operative word is try. A lot of times I think about going for a walk. Sometimes doesn't always happen, but I feel good that I thought about it, that I considered it.
Yeah, well, and it's important to get outside. It's important to get outside and look after yourself during this mess. It's important to get that.
No, and I've been trying to. No, and I think you're right. I do always try to get outside, and I've been watching what I eat, and it's by nature I'm already sitting in front of a computer for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. It's just the nature of my job. So, even before we're all kind of forced to be indoors more often than we like, I was already trying to be healthier because my job is to sit in front of a computer. It's not exactly the healthiest way to spend your time. So,
and I watch what I eat too, and I have yet to, it seems to carry on pretty much the same way as it has for the last 60 plus years. I hate dieting. I can't diet. I gave up on dieting, so I chose to try to exercise. But apparently, just because you walk 10,000 steps doesn't mean you can pound back 3 Mars bars.
Well, no, that's true. Maybe 2, but not 3.
Yeah, exactly. So we can tell people you live in Rochester, New York.
Yep, home of the Amerks.
Home of the Amerks, the Rochester Americans, are the greatest AHL team in the history of the history of hockey, the greatest minor league team in the history of hockey, steeped in tradition. We at last year's Springfield, a bunch of us went to see the Springfield Thunderbirds play the Hershey Bears. Great fun. We even took.
Well, you're cutting out a little bit. I think I missed that last part.
Oh, okay. I said, I said in Springfield this year in 2020. We went to see the minor league AHL Springfield Thunderbirds play the Hershey Bears. Oh,
yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. You seem like you might be a little annoyed that you didn't get a ticket.
I'm a little annoyed I couldn't join you guys. Yeah, it's it's the glamorous life of a Railroad magazine editor, always in demand, having so many a long list of social engagements, beating off beautiful women, it's just, I can't walk down the street without being recognized. Colors are brighter, food tastes better, dogs play with me now. Really upset that we couldn't go to the game together.
Yeah, it's not unlike being a super fan, an AML super fan. That's probably
it's almost as good as being a super fan. Yes.
So what happened? What do you think? This is being recorded on. Don't tell me. Let me guess. Oh, it's Bruce Wilson's birthday today. Bruce,
It is Bruce Wilson's birthday. I did wish him a very happy birthday.
Yeah, Bruce, a moderately agitated mailboy. So we are recording this on April the 13th. It's probably a couple of weeks later. How have you dealt with this? How have you coped with this whole COVID-19 thing?
So for those of you who don't know, I work from home, and I've worked from home for the last 10 years or so. Sometimes I don't leave the house for days at a time, go without talking to people, going to my favorite restaurants. And that was before COVID-19. So I didn't realize that my lifestyle was already considered to be quarantined. So honestly, not much changed here at the Rochester office. It's kind of, I mean, I laugh about it, but I'm like, wow, that's actually kind of sad. There's literally people are talking about how much they have had to adjust. They don't get to see their favorite people, their family, their friends. You can't go to the corner pub. You can't go to the restaurant. You can't go anywhere. And I'm just like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something that people do on a regular basis. Yikes. And then I have to pretend to be human. I'm like, yes, that is normal human response. I also miss those things.
That's kind of a prerequisite.
I mean, I joke, and it's like I do miss being able to get out and do things and visit friends. It's been a little harder. I mean, I don't want to paint myself as a shut-in. I'm just saying that with all the work I do and having working from home already, sometimes it's really hard to separate yourself when your workplace is your home. What do you do? Like most people have a 9-to-5 job. They leave their home, they go to their job, they leave the job, and then they go home. So for a lot of people, their home is a place to relax and hang out and do stuff. I'm home all day. If I want a snack, I grab a snack. If I want to eat lunch, I eat lunch. If I want to eat a second lunch, sometimes I do that too. I'm just saying, like, sometimes the lines get blurred.
Right.
But one of the things I've actually been focusing on is, really how can I help others forget what's going on, even if just for a few minutes. And, some of that comes to we're trying to put more interesting content online for people to enjoy. Just the other night, I hosted a live chat on the Railroad Model Craftsman Facebook page. I spoke for about an hour. And on Facebook, it's a one-way chat, so it's kind of like a one-way broadcast. I tried to make it interesting. It was celebrating 1 year of me being editor of the magazine, and so I talked a little bit about that. Talked about future of the hobby. Talked about how the hobby is not dying.
Oh.
I shared some projects I built, a couple of structure projects I kit bashed. Talked about scratch building and kit bashing, and tried to encourage people to share their projects with us, get published in our magazine or on our Facebook page, or however it is. But I just really tried to encourage people. You know what? You have some extra time these days, and you're cooped up in the house. Well, now's a great time to start that model you never said you had time to do, or if you don't have any modeling supplies in the house, now's a great time to do some drawings, do some track plans, sketch some buildings, draw out some things that you want to build, so that when restrictions are lifted and you can get some supplies, you can go and do that. There's plenty of ways you can enjoy yourself, in this hobby. And, now's a great time. I think we're seeing the power of social media come out. I think we're seeing more activity on Facebook, in our Facebook groups. People are sharing work that they're doing, or they're asking questions on how to get started. And, in a very small way, I'm trying to help facilitate some of that. But also, rest assured, we're here at White River Productions. All of our offices, we all work from home. We're all producing our magazines. All the magazines are going out on a regular schedule. They should be showing up in your mailboxes as we speak. So, we're not going to stop putting out magazines, and we hope you continue to enjoy reading them. So, we're going to try to keep things going as normally as we can for you. And, I want to try to make our magazines and our online environment a resource for people to enjoy.
Yeah, and is that a common thread with editors of White River Productions, where they all live they're all shut-ins?
I mean, I wouldn't put it. I mean, yes, but I wouldn't say that. But yes, just don't say it.
Now, in reality, though, when we are not under these particular times, you like to spend the time going out and trying different. You go to different bars in Rochester and try different or small breweries. You like imbibe. You like to have the odd wobbly pop or 10.
So one of my hobbies, I do a beer blog, and there's something like 25 new craft breweries in the Rochester area. And so part of the fun is going to visit these places, getting to know the people who launch these businesses. And it's fascinating to see, you walk into a brewery, into one of their tasting rooms, and you see the big silver tanks where the beer is made. And, you're tasting that beer, you're talking to the brewer, or you're talking to one of the people who help make that beer. And it's such a different experience. You can go to the store and buy any beer anytime, but I think it's a fun experience to go to a brewery, see where your beer is coming from, meet the people who are making your beer, understand what they're trying to do that's different or unusual, or that sets them apart. And, there's a lot of parallels, I think, in the model railroad world, when you meet a lot of the manufacturers in our industry. A lot of our model railroad manufacturers are cottage industries. They are one or two people working in a house somewhere, and they're doing all the design work, the manufacturing work, they're packaging the product, they're doing their own advertising, they're building their own website, and that's most of our hobby. And then you have some second and third tier industry, like your Atherns and your Walthers. Those are slightly bigger businesses, but essentially a large part of our industry is one or two people. And I think it's interesting, like our friend Jim Sacco, right? I think a lot of people don't realize, Jim does all his own design work, and he's packing his product and he's shipping it out to the hobby shops, and he's keeping his website updated, and he does that all by himself. But his product is so great, you think he has like a cast of thousands working for him. But getting it back to that beer analogy, it sucks that, yes, I can't enjoy my hobby. I can't go visit the breweries and see my friends and meet the people who are making the beer. And I think we're seeing a lot of that in the hobby right now. What we just saw just last week when this was recorded, NMRA just made the difficult decision to cancel the national convention, and that's a huge emotional blow for a lot of people, and it absolutely sucks.
Yeah, but so that's why we're putting out these extra podcasts, because we're doing our little part. I was going to ask a really good question. Don't tell me. Let me guess. Can't remember what it was now. Oh yeah, Jim Sacco. Not so much a question; it's a statement. I probably shouldn't tell you this. I probably shouldn't say this on the air, but you do know that Jim Sacco is actually Batman, right?
I've heard that, but I think he asked us not to really discuss that with other people.
I've been to the Batcave. I've been there. I've seen it. I like, if you know that you've never seen Batman and Jim Sacco in the same place, ever.
That's true. That's true.
He has this really cool house. He lives in Pittsburgh, and he has this really cool house. It's like so many houses in Pittsburgh. It's kind of built into the side of a hill. And
right.
The guy that built his house was an electrician, and he overbuilt it. And you go into Jim's garage, which is ample, and then towards the back is a smattering of City Classics stuff. But this guy, when he built the house, he built the garage back past the foundation, and then you make a hard right, and it's built all under the patio as well from behind the house, which is actually the Bat.
Oh, wow.
It's the Batcave. I'm convinced of that. That's where it's the coolest basement I've ever been in. And Jim I walked out of there and I thought, well, it's one of those things that hits you like, a week later, and you go, wait a minute. Hold it. So you said the hobby's growing. You're in that camp, are you?
I am. I am firmly in that camp.
I think it's growing like crazy and nobody realizes it.
I think, and we've touched on this before, Lionel. I think some people get discouraged because they see all the new models that are coming out, all the new products, things that, if you said things that just you wouldn't dream would be possible 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I'm sure there's a segment of people out there who are frustrated because they can't keep up with all the new products. And even if they have the budget to acquire some, they can't acquire everything that they want. Or maybe some of these products are outside their budget and they feel like the hobby is leaving them behind. I still get 1 or 2 letters a month that say, I'm being priced out of this hobby. I can't afford it. I can't enjoy it like I used to. And this hobby won't be around in X number of years. And it's got to be hard to encourage someone, be like, no, there's plenty of ways to enjoy this hobby. But if they've decided that their way to enjoy this hobby is to buy the most expensive products, I can't convince them otherwise. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I think our manufacturers who are making the big ticket items, talking about locomotives, rolling stock, I think some of them are cognizant of that, and they offer their products at different levels so that people can afford to enjoy the hobby in different ways. And it's like I keep telling people, if you really decide that enjoying the hobby involves buying something that's well outside your budget, save up for it. That's what I do. I don't have infinite resources myself, and when I decide I want something, I have to think long and good and hard about it. If it fits in my budget. But I think one of the things I try to encourage people to think about is that there are many ways to enjoy the hobby. And if you're frustrated because you can't afford certain items, or you feel like the products being released aren't for you, then what are you enjoying? What are you must be building a layout anyway, right? So there must be something that you're getting out of this hobby. If it's not the $300 engine, what are you doing? And if your hobby enjoyment's at a complete standstill, maybe we're not doing enough to show you alternate ways to enjoy the hobby. Like when I was a kid, I think I've mentioned this once or twice. I was a kid growing up, late 80s, early 90s. When I'm starting to make my first hobby purchases of my own, I had an allowance. I had to budget, what I could spend my money on. And I wasn't going to buy a $75 Atlas locomotive. Who could afford that? That's crazy talk, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? I would save up my money. I could buy a Athearn kit for $7, or I could save up for a couple weeks and buy a structure kit, or and quite frankly, when you're 11, 12, 13 years old, how much stuff do you need to buy? Like that Athearn kit would keep me occupied for a week. And in the meantime, I'm saving up my money to go buy the next thing. It's like, how many things do you really need to buy when you're a kid? I saved up for a locomotive. I saved up for structures. I saved up for things. And I still think about that when I build models. It's like, I don't go and dump a huge amount of money. I think about, well, what do I need to buy right now to work on the project I'm working on right now? If I bought every structure kit I ever wanted for a layout I might build someday, and I would just fill up a closet full of kits I'm never going to build, right?
Right.
So, I just take my chances. I'm like, well, maybe some of those kits will be on the market when I'm ready for it. But I budget my expenses. And when I'm not budgeting my expenses, when I'm not building models, I daydream. I think about layouts I want to build. I think about structures I want to build. I sketch and I draw and I read books and I visit Facebook groups. And, you can be engaged in this hobby in so many different ways, especially now we have all the spare time on our hands. Now's the time to engage in that research aspect. There are people doing great YouTube demos of how to do DCC installs, how to build scenery, how to weather trains. Just you could fall down a rabbit hole and spend hours, days on YouTube, just being entertained. People are posting layout tours on YouTube. There's all sorts of ways you can go visit someone's layout without actually going there. So I'd say reevaluate what it is you're trying to get out of the hobby, and if certain aspects are out of your budget, concentrate on something else until it all comes around. There's a lot of different ways to enjoy the hobby, and I think we shouldn't feel left behind or priced out, or that people's skills are intimidating you. This hobby is for you to enjoy it at your own pace in your own way.
So I'm confused. Why can't you buy a closet full of structure kits?
I just want to reiterate, I am not discouraging anyone from buying a closet full of structure kits. I actually got a letter that I printed an excerpt from in one of the last issues. A hobby shop owner was upset with me I wrote an editorial about one of my first about my experiences at train shows over the years and how they were my first exposure to the hobby, visiting a train show. And I think I misspoke because I meant, as an 11-year-old kid, this was the first time I was in another room with other people who like trains,
Right.
let alone a room filled with trains. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
But, going to visit a train show for the first time, and wow, the whole county center is just filled with trains wall to wall, and there's old trains and new trains and structures and locomotives and taiko and brass and everything. Wow, this is my first time seeing any of this in one place before. And I talked about, growing up going to train shows and then helping to start a train show when I was at RIT, and then going on to be on convention committees and things like that. And, it was more about the experience of being around other people. And the hobby shop owner was upset with me because he thought I was pitting train shows over hobby shops. And, he raised very good points that a lot of times, yes, you might visit a train show, but a hobby shop is where you might get your first hobby advice. It's where you get your one-on-one guidance. If going to a train show is one type of experience, like a hobby shop is your one-on-one special tutor, to the hobby, right? You can talk to the people at a hobby shop one-on-one, and they can talk to you about their experiences and guide you towards a purchase or help you, understand, well, here's the advantage of buying a brass locomotive versus a plastic locomotive. And here's the advantage of brass track over nickel silver. And, well, don't use patching plaster, use, some other material for whatever. But I am not pitting train shows over hobby shops. Hobby shops are still an important part of our hobby. And if we don't support our hobby shops, I think we're going to lose a very important part of this hobby. And especially now with restrictions in place on travel and non-essential businesses having to close, I think it's more important than ever, if you're able to support a hobby shop that maybe is doing curbside pickup, or maybe you can do mail order from a hobby shop, or maybe you can buy a gift certificate, to use in the future. Anything you can do to support your local hobby shops, do it, because not only are they the dealer network for our hobby, but they're an important part of the hobby experience.
Oh, for sure. And I think good hobby shops are going to survive. I often speak about two new hobby shops, Train Life, which is a subsidiary of Exact Rail, run by our buddy Chris Brimley there. They just opened a hobby shop and are doing very well. And of course,
that's a phenomenal hobby shop too. By the way, I've been there.
Yeah, and then I speak, because they have Pele Solberg's layout in there, and Chris did a great job of building this superstructure, the legs and all that, to look like trestle.
And it's beautiful. Like, if you haven't seen it in person, like it's worth visiting the shop just to see Pele's layout. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, so there's one shop that's just opened and is doing quite well. Chris was always saying about how well they're doing. And then the other one I know of is Stephen Atwell, Midwest Model Railroad in Independence, Missouri. They just opened that shop about a year ago, and him and his dad had started in the basement, and now they're got a very flourishing business. So, there's two shops that have opened. So I'm very much about shops.
In the May issue of Railroad Model Craftsman, we actually profile a hobby shop in Marysville, Illinois, in the St. Louis area, called K10's Hobbies.
Right. And
they have a hobby shop, but attached to the hobby shop is attached this huge 60-foot warehouse, and is full of a giant HO scale model railroad. And if you look at it, you might be dismissive, like, oh, it's just a big spaghetti bowl of track and whatever. It is actually a large operating model railroad with several yards. Yes, there's lots of track, but it fills up this whole warehouse. And it's not about the spectacle of filling a warehouse. The owner of the hobby shop regularly hosts operating sessions, and not just any operating sessions, but there are kids there. And he encourages kids to show up, run trains. They run on a schedule. They're actual operating sessions. And if the kids are too young, he has the parents, be there with them. But for the most part, he's doing his bit to not only encourage repeat business at a hobby shop, but to bring in fresh blood. And there are people constantly working on maintaining the layout, rebuilding the layout, adding new scenes, building scenery, doing whatever. And the kids get involved in this. And I can't think of a better ambassador for the hobby, right? You have a hobby shop with a giant layout that's open to the community where he encourages, and all people are welcome to help out, but he especially encourages kids. It's good business for him, but it's also great for the hobby to bring in fresh perspective, and I think that's great. So May issue should be hitting your mailboxes hopefully by the time you hear this podcast, and I look forward to your feedback because I want to hear what people think about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure we should refer to the youngsters in the hobby as fresh blood. I mean,
fresh blood.
Hey, you just hired a new guy. What's that all about?
We just hired a new guy, Justin Franz. He hails from, he's a native of Maine, and he is currently living in Montana, lives in the beautiful city of Whitefish, Montana, a good great northern town. And he just wrapped up a 9-year career working for one of the local newspapers there. And he has joined the staff of Railroad Model Craftsman. And he's also joined the staff of Railfan and Railroad. We're kind of splitting his time, but he's coming on as an associate editor. Cool. And he's going to help manage some of our columns and also help us develop some online features and do some other good work for the magazine. So we're really excited about that.
That's cool. And so when you were making your final decision, did I make the short list? Did my resume get lost? Did you even bother reading it? What happened?
You know, we had a lot of discussions. There was a lot of merit to your proposals. I actually was quite impressed. I've never seen anyone handle a crayon so well before. There was a lot of great comments on your penmanship. We just think your talents are better suited elsewhere, Lionel. I think we all agree. You know, you're very well suited to this medium.
The old you're too qualified for this job.
You're overqualified, Lionel.
Yeah.
It would be a disservice if we brought you on.
So that's kind of cool that you guys. That's kind of cool that the magazine's doing well enough, and the magazines are doing well enough to hire a new guy. That's kind of exciting.
We are, and you know, that's a large part to just being part of the White River family. I can't really thank Kevin and Nadine Udaley enough for the opportunity to bring on Justin, because not only is Justin bringing some great assets to the magazines, but you know, he's a young guy, and we need to start bringing in the younger talent to help grow that next generation if we expect our publications to continue on. You know, we just need to keep cultivating young talent, and Justin's part of that, and I'm really excited to bring him on.
He looks like the classic model railroader, rail enthusiast too. He's just got that look. He's got the classic rail enthusiast look. I think if there's a I think if there's a look, he's got it.
What I'm really excited about, what really resonates with me, is Justin feels the same way I do about these publications. No matter which one's your favorite publication, I think we hold them sacred. You know, I think we feel a certain reverence to our favorite publications. They are an important part of how we grew up, of how we shaped our opinions about the hobby. We all have favorite authors. We could probably rattle off some of our favorite articles over the years, things that shaped our opinions. I remember reading things when I was 12 years old. I didn't understand everything that they were talking about, but it made an impression. The personalities made an impression, the design, the layout, how the magazines felt in your hands. You know, it's all part of the experience. And I remember, you know, being a little kid, always wanting to work. You know, they shaped my experience so much. I'm like, I want to work for a train magazine someday. And that was just kind of like a wish, right? It's like, oh, that's just a wish. I'll probably get a real job, you know? And I had a real job for a bunch of years. And I kind of dipped my pinky toe into the industry, getting an article published here and there, getting drawings and track plans and building up relationships. But I never thought I'd have the opportunity to actually work in the industry.
Right.
And, you know, it started with Railfan, and then, you know, all of a sudden, here I'm in the editor's chair of RMC, and I don't believe it. And I'm sitting here at my desk on a daily basis, and every once in a while I just pause and I'm like, whoa, I'm working on a page right now that someone's going to be reading in 4 weeks, like holding in their hands. And this is going to be on newsstands all across the country and in mailboxes. And it's going to be on someone's shelf. And 20 years from now, it's going to be on someone's shelf. And my name's going to be in there. And, it's very sobering to be like, whoa, now I'm the one crafting these publications that people are going to hopefully enjoy, and hopefully they're being impacted by them. And Justin was having like the same conversation with me. He's like, I grew up reading these magazines and I admire these authors, and certain editors, stand out. And, he told me, how it's ingrained in him, and he feels the same feelings of reverence, and that's when I knew this can be a job to you, but if you don't have a certain gravity, you need to understand that these things that you publish are now part of the record. They're part of the hobby. And I think everyone in this industry has that feeling, once or twice. Whoa, I can't believe that the things I'm working on, are now part of the industry. And I think that's what really set apart Justin. Was he just really had this drive. He's like, no, I want to work for a magazine. I've grown up reading them. It's in my blood. Plus he also clipped a 20 to his resume, and that kind of put him over the top.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. Yeah.
That always helps. Okay. So how does a guy, let's move on to something else. That's cool. I love you. Hey, Justin, I think you're going to be awesome. I would like to interview. He looks like a fun guy to interview. I think we're going to track that boy down and put him behind the microphone and see how he comes across.
Maybe sometime, we can get the whole staff of RMC on here.
Yeah,
you have a round robin with the entire staff. Would you like to set up something like that sometime?
I would think that would be an awesome idea. That would be a great idea. Who I have never met, and I really only finally saw a picture of him when we were doing one of our fans of the podcast shows, and our buddy Hardpart had a picture of him and Harry Wong, and I've never seen or met Harry Wong. So I mean that's another thing. So yeah, it'd be fun to have the staff on and talking about the magazine. That'd be a great idea. You've come up with an idea.
Let's set that up for let's have your people talk to my people.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll have my peeps call your peeps, and we'll hammer out the details. Right?
I mean, now that I actually have people, it's kind of weird. It's like, before, it's just, and Harry's out on the West Coast, so I only get to see him a couple of times a year when we work train shows or something. And Todd Gillette's our designer, and he's in Kansas City area. Justin's in Montana, so it is kind of strange actually having to oversee a staff and be responsible for multiple people now, but it's very exciting and a lot of fun.
Yes, it's fun having a staff. I've had a staff for many, many, many decades, and it's really cool because you can go, hey, I guess you can't do this, but I've always kept my staff as close as possible, and I get to go, hey, anybody want something from Tim Hortons? And then you act like you're going to go get it, and then so long as you're willing to pay, you can send somebody else to do it. So it's great having a staff. So do that at the next.
I sent Justin out for coffee last week, and I'm still waiting for him to deliver it. I think he's somewhere around Illinois right now, making his way to New York with my coffee. It's probably going to be cold by the time he gets here, but it's the thought that counts.
Okay, so quickly tell me, why do you think the hobby's grown? What is it that's made you think in the last year? Not the last year. You've been a huge supporter, but I get the sense that in the year's time of being the head honcho at RMC, I get the sense that you're even more excited about the hobby than you were probably when you first became editor.
I think, the real black and white figures right in front of us. I think I mentioned it before. There's literally new products being announced and launched every day. There's even new manufacturing companies coming into the fold on a regular basis. And if the hobby was dying, why would there be new products? Why would there be new companies coming into the fold? I don't think people are looking to get into a dying business. And that's just from a straight economic nuts and bolts bottom line, I think, economically, the hobby is growing. It's clearly growing. We're seeing more involvement in the hobby. And you could argue that in one way, social media detracts from that, well, I don't have to go to an RPM meet. I can just go to a Facebook group and see models. I don't have to go to an NMRA convention. I can just go on YouTube and go take some layout tours. And to a degree, you're right, but I think we've talked about this before, Lionel. It's like social media is an augment. Social media is an important augment to real life interactions. I think that clubs aren't functioning in the same way that they used to. I think clubs serve a different purpose, but I think clubs are still an important part of the hobby. NMRA divisions, RPM groups, informal round robins with your friends. These are all important, and people are building layouts. People are forming new clubs, new groups. Yes, you do see some organizations fall by the wayside. I think we all could probably share a story anywhere across the country about some model railroad club that couldn't attract new members, lost their lease, and they go away for whatever reason. But I think for every one of those we hear, there's an equivalent number or more coming on the scene. And we're learning about these. I mean, think about how you would learn about a model railroad club back in the day. Maybe they got a profile in the magazine. Maybe you saw them at a local train show. But otherwise, how would you know if you're not from, Kalamazoo? How would you know about the Kalamazoo Model Railroad Club? Well, now they're on Facebook. Now they're on social media. Now they're putting pictures out. They're sharing, and now you're learning about their club. So now next time you're traveling through Kalamazoo, you're going to stop and visit them, or something like that. So I think we're seeing more of that. I'm learning about layouts all the time that I would not have known about if it wasn't for social media. Like our good friend Dave Abeleys and his Onondaga Cutoff. I've been following his blog. I've been following his blog for years. And apparently he was, well known in a circle of friends down there in New Jersey. And when he started publishing his blog, now I learned about it. And now, he's been on A Modeler's Life, and now he's internationally known. All of a sudden, kids are asking for his autograph in the street, and it's amazing.
Well, and the other night, he did a really cool Facebook Live thing and ran a couple of trains across his layout. I mean, Dave is one of these guys. Why do Facebook Live for 15 minutes when you can do it for almost 2 hours? That's
right.
That's Dave in a nutshell. But everything he does with such great enthusiasm that you can't help but like it. He made this great Facebook Live, and of course, with Facebook Live, the thing cut out on him once or twice, but that didn't matter because he was having so much fun, and he had quite a few people watching, and he's just one of those guys that you can't help but get enthused. And there's more. Not to put the we'll finish with this because you've almost used your allotted time, Otto, on what's happening.
Oh dear.
What's happening, man? What's happening? And not to put magazines down because you know where I'm coming from, but before social media, before YouTube, before the internet was born, the only way you could get exposure was basically through the two major magazines, RMC, and there's another one, I forget the name of it right now, but I was associated with those guys for many years. And, the only way you could get exposure was basically to get in these two magazines, and there's only so much room in the magazine, so it was very difficult. So guys like Dave, would struggle to get in, to get exposure, and that's what's made it better. And I think the thing I love about White River Productions, and I don't really know Kevin Udaly at all, but I mean, I know you, and I know, Tony Cook's a good friend of mine who's the editor of Model Railroad News. I would consider, Otto, you and I would consider each other good friends, are we not?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. So I have two good friends that are editors of magazines there. And the quality of magazines that you guys put out is, honestly, to me, in this day and age, I would use the word staggering. The quality of the magazines you guys are putting out is staggering. It's just, I was in Displains Hobbies this past summer, when we were having the AML picnic there in Rochelle, Illinois. And is that what it's called? Yeah, it's Rochelle. And we went into Blaine's Hobbies. And I mean, I had to buy Railfan and Railroad because of the picture on the cover. It was just such a cool magazine. And it's the quality that you guys put out that just I find to be staggering. You guys must have this in-house, I don't know, depth chart of how the magazine's going to appear, because it's spectacular. So yeah, in the old days, it's the only way you could do. And now you can augment, Dave, you can augment what you do online with the magazine. You guys, you know what? I would say this. I think this is the first time I've said this on the podcast. I think a lot of hobby shops can survive and will survive basically by how they embrace the internet, how they utilize the internet. And I would say the same thing about you guys. You guys are like successful hobby shops that have learned to utilize the internet as a plus rather than a minus. Does that make sense?
Well, I think, and it's the real challenge is that it's so easy to publish on the internet, whether you're making your own website, making Facebook posts, whatever it is, it's super easy. What's challenging is putting out the right message and doing it in a way that resonates with people. And that part, some people just don't want to take the time to figure that out. So, I know a hobby shop, they have a website, they have a Facebook page, and they never update either one. So if you go to their Facebook page, it looks like they're dead. And you go to their website and it has been updated in 5 years, and you wonder what's going on. And they're like, hey, do you ever update it? No, why would I update it? I'm like, it's like, yeah, I have a Facebook page and a website. Go look at it. I'm like, I did. And you haven't updated in 5 years. I don't think you understand that the web is dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the challenge. You have to keep going. You have to keep updating. You have to, and if you don't want to do it yourself, ask for help. Or, also, so I've said this before to a lot of people in the hobby, seek professional help. Hire a marketer, hire a website person, hire someone to do social media, or hire them to show you how to do it, because there's a specific way to do it. But once you do it, you can reap the benefits, and it won't replace what you're doing. It'll just add another dimension to what you're doing. And that's the whole point, is hitting more points and getting more points of exposure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we've used up, that was a pretty good chat all in all. You always manage to, you're always quality podcasting material.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm always glad to be here. And
I appreciate it more than you appreciate it, because it makes my job really easy.
Well, good. That's what I'm here for, Lionel.
So I really hope you're doing okay during this whole COVID mess.
Doing well up here in Rochester. Like I said, we'll just keep pumping out magazines. You folks just keep reading them.
Yeah, that's the way to do her. Tough times, but we hope that I'm putting these out, these what's happening things, just for fun while it's on, just to give some people extra stuff to listen to, and people seem to appreciate it quite a bit. So we hope that everybody's hanging in there, doing their best, because that's really all you can do at this point. It's kind of out of our control, and we just got to hang on for the ride. Dig in, as my dad would say. My dad was a World War II guy, and my uncles, and always the same thing came out of his mouth. Well, then, boy, I guess you'd better just dig in for this one, then, hadn't you?
Dig in, hang on, and we will see you soon.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we have a website, modeler'slife.com. We also have an email, it's just Modeler's Life. But I'm excited because if you go to our website, and I've set the website up so it looks good on your phone, if you go there and the second thing down, there's a picture of Bruce, the moderately agitated male boy, in a particularly agitated state. And if you just click on his picture, you'll automatically be able to send us an email. So I can tell you the address, but just go to the website and click on Bruce's picture, and boom, your email will automatically come up. And then we have a website, amodeler'slife.com. Just go to that website, and everything you need to know is right there. And it's really easy to look at on your phone if you go to your internet search thing, Google thing, or whatever you do. And now, do you remember the end part? This particular end, you just have to be ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. So remember, Oh, and I also wanted to remind everybody to go to Ron's Trains and Things, Ron Marsh. Go there because he's our. We have a complete library of how-to videos, but we had Ron Marsh do them. So go to Ron's Trains and Things on YouTube and you'll find out all kinds of stuff. So remember, A Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10. I don't think you're ready. Have you left? What happened? What happened? We're still on.
Oh, there you are.
What happened?
I lost you for a second.
Oh.
I mean, this room at the studio is so big, I lost you.
Oh, my goodness gracious. It was exciting, and then there was like dead air when I got to the end. And I'm thinking, what did I do now? There's too many buttons. That's the problem. I can't. My motorcycles, my Harley-Davidson motorcycles, you can get the plain Jane one in
Right.
particular ones that I have, or you can get the Ultras with lots of buttons. I always get the plain Jane one. I can't handle a lot of buttons. I'm not a button guy. I'm like, keep it as simple. I need to turn signals and brake lights, and I'm good. And how to some place to stop it and some place to make it go, and that's all I need. So, all right, let's try again. So remember, A Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10. Did I lose you again? What is happening here? He's gone again. Is he doing this on purpose?
Oh, there you are.
What are you doing? Quit pushing the buttons.
Wait. Is it Happy Rails to you?
No. I'm going to do it. This is like...
Did I do it out of order?
I'm going to do it one more time. You have to be ready. You're not even prepared. This is unbelievable. People are listening to this and like, you're right. It is unedited. Don't go away this time. So remember, A Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
Dentists.
Dentists. How about I'm going to help you? I'll help you now. This is the way I would have done it. A Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10 newly hired associate editors for RMC.
Magazine.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I should have known this.
You want one more shot at it?
A Modeler's Life is sponsored by Big Ass Maine Potatoes. If you've got a Maine potato, you've got a big ass.
It's another Lincoln Homer.